Hey guys, welcome back to another interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Ashe updated complete guide, and of course the content keeps coming. We're gonna have more and more complete guides coming out in the coming days as well, and we had a tier list yesterday as well as a couple of complete guides before that. But before we jump straight into it, don't forget to check out Ashe's basic guide. I'll put up in the cards above for her skills, leveling order tips and tricks, as well as a couple of combos. But with that said, let's jump straight into it. So pretty much the agreed upon best way to play Ashe right now is going for crit Ashe, and you do have this kind of awkward, what I personally call the Zeri problem of going for Runan's Hurricane second and wanting to go for Soul Transfer a little bit later on. Now the reason why this is a little bit of a small problem is because Bloodthirster is great as a first item, Yordle Runan's Hurricane is great as second item, but you don't really have a good third item, right? And what I mean by this is you don't really want to go for Mole Reminder third because people are not that tanky at this point, and Mole Reminder doesn't give you that amazing stats. At the same time, you don't really want to go for Soul Transfer third item because it scales off of your crit rate, and at this point you'll only have 50% crit, so that's really not amazing. And in a similar vein, you don't really want to go IE as a third item because again, it boosts your crit damage, and at this point you only have 50% crit, so it's very expensive item as well, so you're kind of losing a lot of value from it by going for it third. And then there is a method of going for IE third and then into Bone Reminder next, but then your Soul Transfer, which is a very good item, very useful item, becomes last, and you kind of don't really get it so early. So pretty much what most people like to do at this point is to go for this order, myself included, where you go for Mole Reminder first and then into Soul Transfer and then you go for IE last. Now of course whichever order you go for, there's going to be pros and cons, but this is pretty much the quote-unquote agreed upon best order. And I'm going to go through all the items right now. So firstly, you start with the Berserker's Greaves just for the early game attack speed. With Ashe, you could go for the Gluttonous Greaves as well, but since you're already going for Bloodthirster first item for that physical vamp, the attack speed that you get from Berserker's Greaves is actually very helpful in the early game and throughout the game as well. And then you want to go into your Bloodthirster. Of course, you get a little bit of early game AD, the physical vamp that I mentioned, as well as, of course, having that lifeline shield. And then you go for the Runan's Hurricane. Runan's Hurricane, of course, allows you to attack 3 people simultaneously, applying your slow onto all of them. And then Mole Reminder, Armor Pen, and Grievous Wounds. And then you have the Soul Transfer, which gives you a nice stat line, but of course also spawns those little ghosts, those little phantoms that help you kind of DPS. And then IE, of course, for that increased AD as well as crit damage. Of course, Ashe cannot actually crit, so you just get increased damage on your auto attacks. So for the runes, standard ADC loadout. Now I will say you can consider, but I don't think it's that good. You can consider Axiom Arcanist because with Ashe's arrow, just getting extra cooldown and extra 10% damage on the arrow can come in handy. But from my testing on other ADCs, I kind of feel that it's not a very strong rune at the moment. So I would still rather go for Bone Plating. I think it provides you so much more value throughout the game. And for the spells, as far as possible, you want to take Flash together with Ghost. Ashe is amazing with Ghost because with that you can kind of run people down with your movement speed combined with the slows you have in your passive, or the opposite way around. You can kite people out by slowing them with your passive and then running away fast with your movement speed. So I really love Ghost on Ashe, but of course if you need something like Cleanse or Barrier, you can go for those as well. But with all that said, let's now move into the gameplay. Okay, so let's move on into the gameplay section of the video. So of course, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Of course, you guys know I will be sure to address them. So without further ado, let's jump straight into what's going on here. So, as you guys saw from my tier list yesterday, I do rank Ashe decently among the ADCs. I guess she's somewhat in the middle, but still in the A+ tier, so I still think it's a very, very solid pick, especially against certain teams and if you're really good at playing Ashe. Now, this enemy team is not really one of those teams that Ashe is really amazing against, because Ashe is really good against, the tanky champions that you can kite, right? Very similar to the Xayah spots where Xayah is really good. Now, in this matchup, there are a lot of strengths of Ashe, but there are also a lot of kind of weaknesses of Ashe, right? So firstly, the two quote-unquote most kiteable champions are Singed and Poppy, but the issue is that they're not very kiteable, right? Poppy has a movement speed increase, and she can always just flash and whack you into a wall and stun you. So while she is kiteable, not the most kiteable, right? Singed, I wouldn't really even consider him kiteable because he has Ghost and he just wants to run at you and flip you like what he's just done to my Seraphine here. However, unfortunately for them, Pantheon was in the area, does one camp into gank, which is I don't really blame them for this. Like, who's expecting a Pantheon to do one red buff into gank and then kill the enemy ADC? But very well played by the Pantheon, recognizing that a fight was happening and he could impact the fight and get a free kill for himself, and also put us ahead. So Singed, barely considered kiteable, I would say, because you can kind of kite him. You trade ghost for ghost and you kind of run away from him and try to kite him, which does semi work, but not the most kiteable champion, right? And then of course Ashe has no mobility, so she kind of sucks against dive. So you do have the issue of Vex as well as Diana. If you can't avoid their ultimates, you can't avoid their bursts, you're going to be in trouble, right? However, Ashe does have two main strengths, or three, I mean two main strengths in this match and a mitigating factor. So firstly, we have a Morgana for a Black Shield, right? So the Black Shield can solve a lot of our issues in terms of not getting CC and thrown up by the Singed, or avoiding the combo of, for example, a Diana or a Vex, at least in the form of CC, right? Because Morgana is a very supportive mid laner. Now, secondly, or that wasn't actually the first point, but the first point of why Ashe is good in this game is because Ashe has an amazing matchup into Samira. So Samira is tied with Lucian, the lowest range ADC if you don't count Nilah, who's melee, right? So Ashe is the second highest ranged ADC, only second to Caitlyn. So you have a very amazing lane against a melee Singed as well as a very short range Samira, because you have so high range that you can just bully them, which is what we are basically trying to do. Like, basically this entire game is just to bully them, right? Because we want to take advantage of our strong lane and we want to put them behind early, which you can see Samira is already 200 gold behind, of course, off of her death as well. Doesn't get to reset here. And secondly, we have a Seraphine. Now, Ashe Seraphine is a very patented kind of combo in the game, and simply because they kind of combo together very, very well for multiple reasons. Now, firstly, you can see there is one of the reasons. Ashe applies a slow, right? So if Seraphine does a singular E, it's gonna root, and if she does the double E, it's gonna stun, which of course is a way stronger form of CC than a root, right? So for that main reason, Ashe Seraphine is a very, very strong combo. Now, aside from that, of course, you also have the ulti combo where you can do Seraphine ult into Ashe ult, or the other way around, Ashe ult into Seraphine ult. Speaking of which, I popped the ult there onto the Singed. We're trying to get rid of the Samira. Samira has to flash away. Singed also now in trouble for some reason. Not for some reason. I tanked the tower because we have Seraphine dropping tower aggro, so I end up tanking. And unfortunately for us, we do have Diana in the area, and she does kill us. Now, honestly, I knew that Diana was in the area because we just saw her gank top side. So her most logical play here is to reset and then go to the bot side to farm. So we did know that she was in the area, and walking past the tower is just a death sentence, which we definitely should not have done, but we definitely got greedy for those kills there, and we paid the price for it, making it in the end a negative trade because we ended up only killing one and we both died. So that is not a good look whatsoever. However, we're still doing fine. And aside from the combo with Seraphine, right, in this particular game, we have a lot of like point and click, not point and click, but we have a lot of like single target CC, like Morgana binding, like Pantheon stun, and Ashe arrow can be follow-ups to any of them, or even you could do Ashe arrow to let Pantheon catch up into a stun, or you could do Ashe arrow into Morgana getting a free binding, which is a very slow moving projectile and hard to hit. So you can see here that Singed always tries to walk up to toss me, but whenever he does that, we can kind of kite him out. However, who we can't really kite out is a Samira, who is just going to do that. And that is the part of the matchup where Ashe loses, right? In the all-in, Ashe cannot really compete with Samira, so Samira is going to be able to kill you pretty easily in an all-in like what you see there. The only issue is not giving her the opportunity to all-in, but as you can see, we were a little bit overextended. We didn't have the ulti to interrupt her ulti, and as a result, we paid the price and we ate a Samira ulti, which of course led to our death, right? Of course, personally, I wouldn't ever want to play Samira into Ashe for like the reasons of getting poked in lane, as well as having to deal with the arrow. But of course, I have played the Samira side of the matchup before, and I know that as the Samira, all I'm looking for is an opportunity to engage and let loose my full combo onto the Ashe and kill her before she can really do anything. And she definitely found that window, right, where number one, we were overextended, and number two, we didn't have ult to interrupt hers. So she definitely found the correct window to get herself back into the game with that double kill. Now, the funny thing is, despite the fact that she has 2 kills and 2 deaths, while I have 1 kill and 1 death, we are still kind of leading in terms of goal. Pantheon here, setting a trap, goes onto the Samira the moment that she goes in. I ult her to follow up, and Pantheon's able to finish the kill. And here we do a very good kiting job of kiting the Singed out, going back to take the fruit. Now we still have our Ghost active. Diana is now coming in. I'm just hitting whoever I can. Seraphine gets the root onto the Singed. We're going to finish off the Singed here. Morgana gets the root onto Diana. We get the kill onto the Diana as well. Very nice roam by the Morgana there. And it all ends up basically working out. Just as the dragon is up as well. And we can transition over to that dragon. And we can start working on it, even though our jungler is not alive. Of course, he is going to be up before the enemy jungler, so he will make it here before. But of course, since there's no contest, it doesn't really matter. We're going to be able to get it anyways. Now here, I don't actually think we needed to cancel our recall, because I don't think there's anything Samira could have done there to stop us. I mean, she could... if Seraphine did not cancel the recall, she could flash over, try to one-shot the Seraphine, and then get the combo onto us. But since Seraphine canceled recall and walked away, I actually think we were fine. I actually don't think we needed to cancel the recall there. But I guess better to be safe than sorry. We cancel our recall and we make sure that we are fine. Now my team secures the ensemble as well, giving us both objectives, which is of course a really big deal, really great thing. And here the wave is kind of stacking up on the enemy side. We're just clearing it. Samira nowhere to be seen, so we don't really know what's happening right now. We see Samira in the mid lane, so we know she's actually not here. It's 1v1 with me against the Singed at the moment. Singed doesn't quite have any items yet. However, he's also not very squishy, right? So it's not easy to kill him. Anyway, I don't think I can really do anything much to him, so I'm kind of not. Here, since Seraphine gets some CC, we just follow up with a little bit of autos, and yeah. And now we are going to work on the tower a little bit. Of course, he can flip us with that proto belt. He was trying to do that. We see Diana now coming in. Of course, she is on vision, so we're going to immediately run away. There is 2 wards there in the jungle, so we are pretty safe in terms of spawning her out. Samira is now on the complete opposite side of the map. Doesn't want to have anything to do with this matchup anymore. I don't think Pantheon or Darius is much better to play against, though. Morgana now on the run. Singed once again puts the puddle down, tries to flip somebody into the tower. Now here you can see I get the arrow on him. I'm thinking we can kill him. And here I had both my flash and ghost. But I just really didn't want to flash or ghost under the tower to kill him. I mean, it would have been a free kill, but quote-unquote free, right? Because we did have to we would have had to pop a summoner spell for it, but I really just rather save it for escaping, you know, Samira ulti or you know, Diana or Vex coming in on me instead of, you know, flashing for it to kill the Sin, because at this point we're already really decently fed, and I just really didn't think it was worth it to spend my summoner spells on getting another kill. Which is a little bit atypical. Normally you just want to flash for the kill, right? That's very standard behavior. But I just decided not to. So here we're roaming to top, we're getting the wave here, getting very close to our Runan's Hurricane, which of course is going to be a very major power spike for Ashe, being able to attack 3 people simultaneously. Of course means you can DPS 3 targets and at the same time slow them down, which is going to be very helpful for yourself and for your team at the same time. So now that we've cleared top, Poppy is now responding and pushing top back in. I'm rotating over back to the bot lane to clear the wave. However, a fight is beginning to break out. So I'm quickly launching my arrow, landing it onto the Samira, allowing my team to follow up and pick up the kill. And Diana and Singed are going to be next target. Huge Seraphine ult hits, I think, 3 people. And here I was thinking, you know what, we can probably kill Singed. So I popped the ghost. And then I immediately realized that he now has Rylai's completed. So with that slow, kind of cancels out the ghost. Don't really think there's a way we can get rid of him. So we go for the next best target. Right? We see Poppy on the run, and we might be able to actually catch her. Now Darius is running the wrong direction, right? Because Poppy is not going to be backing in that bush, right? She's going to be running away. So unfortunately, she's going to be able to get away. I guess we could go there and cancel her recall if we really wanted to, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to pick up the Gromp and then rotate over to the mid lane, where it's only Seraphine defending the mid lane, and she is, of course, building support, right? She has a Rylai so that she can proc her E more easily. Now, I would argue that if you have an Ashe on your team, Rylai is a little bit of a waste of an item, because Ashe basically does the Rylai's job for you of applying the slows. But of course, you can't really control what other people build in the game, although it's not the best use of gold. That's what our Seraphine has. It does make her tankier though, so that is something. So here now we're starting to actually go into the Bull Reminder. And in this game, it's not too big of a problem, right? Because here, you have a very tanky Poppy, as you can see here. I'm barely doing any damage to her. She flashes the wall, and Darius with the MVP hook over the wall to ensure Poppy cannot escape. Poppy eventually almost actually gets out, but we are able to run her down with the slows. and she ends up going down. Samira already did before the fight. Pantheon with a very strange ult. Not sure who he thought he was going to catch there. But here we still have to be careful. We're all grouped up, and a Vex ult into a Diana ult could be like a one-shot of my team, right? So you can see I'm positioning to the other side away from the Vex and the Diana. Unfortunately for Vex, she gets caught out instead of actually doing anything productive. And as a result, we have Poppy still dead, and Vex now, with a long death timer. Meaning that with Baron up, we can actually rotate over to the Baron immediately and attempt to do the Baron. Now, this is still very dangerous because, again, Diana still has ult, right? So she could always just ult in and onto all of us, and she could do a lot of damage, right? That's exactly what she's trying to do here. Thankfully, Pantheon does get the secure. We get the kill onto the Diana, and we're kiting out the Samira, who already burned through her ult. We survive with the help of the shield from the Bloodthirster. Poppy not going after me, so I'm just free hitting on her in the meanwhile. Singe, of course, is the squish your target, so we immediately switch targets to the Singe. Now Poppy starts going after me. I'm realizing that Poppy's doing a lot of damage. Vex goes in with the ulti onto the Darius. However, Darius flashes away, and this means that Vex cannot get out. Even pops the flash, and I get the kill on her after the flash, so huge loss to the Vex there. Dies again and loses the flash. She's now 0 and 6, right? So honestly, on the enemy team at this moment, there are really only a couple of problems, right? Of course, Poppy and Singe can always be a problem if they catch you out. Poppy is somewhat of a problem in terms of being tanky, right? We're having a hard time actually killing the Poppy, so that's a problem in and of itself. But thankfully, Vex is kind of feeding, so she's not that big of a problem at the moment. The bigger problem is the Samira and the Diana, right? Because in a 1v1 and such, like, we can just not let Samira stack. But in a teamfight situation, Samira can always stack off of other people and then ult in onto us, right? Which is still going to be a problem despite the fact that she is like 3k gold behind me at least. She still has 2 items and she still can easily kill me, right? It's not too big of a problem for a Samira to kill her Ashe even though she's 1 item down. And of course, probably the biggest problem is the fact that we have a very fat Diana on the enemy team who basically has the same goal as me. Which means that she can basically just one-shot me whenever she gets the chance, whenever she gets in range, which thankfully has not yet happened this game, right? But it could, of course, happen at any time, and we always have to kind of look out for that Diana, which is kind of what we've been doing the whole game, like basically positioning away from the Diana and making sure her ult is on our teammates and not us, which so far has been very successful. So here we have the awkward situation of both myself and Darius going for the same wave, and I'm, of course, at 3 items already, and I'm going for Soul Transfer as my next item. That will, of course, combine together with the Moral Reminder, help me cut down the Poppy significantly. And now I'm going to just for mid-lane Prio. Of course, there's no objectives up at the moment, but you guys know a fight can happen at any time. Looks like one is about to break out right here, with Diana getting stunned, Singe flashing in, trying to flip the Pantheon, but Pantheon has a black shield on him. Very good job by Morgana here. Now, here I think we overkill the Singe, right? Like, we see Morgana get the catch, right? Me and Seraphine had the same idea of just chain CCing him, so we both launch out at the same time. He gets hit by basically 2 people's ultimates. Diana now gets caught out completely and dies basically. Like, if you get CC'd by one of us, you're gonna get chain CC'd, right? Because my team has CC on literally every single champion, and it's very easy to fall out because it's all long range CC, except on, of course, Pantheon as well as Darius, right? But Pantheon even has not that hard of a time following up because he can jump. Of course, Darius hook is the most challenging CC to actually conduct any chain CC with, but of course myself, Seraphine, Morgana, very easy to chain CC with each other, which is exactly what we've been doing, and it's been causing problems for the enemy team. So I realize at this point I'm very fed, right? So Stasis is going to come in very handy here. If Vex hits me with an ultimate, Stasis, Diana comes in with the ultimate, Stasis, Samira comes in with the ultimate, Stasis, right? Stasis is such high value this game, and I'm realizing, a fight's gonna break out here, so I'm gonna need to get myself over there as quickly as I can. Now here at the same time, I'm looking at the fight, looking to see what cooldowns are being used, looking to see if I can launch my ulti. Now here, unfortunately, I find myself on the wrong side of the fight, where I'm in the front line of the fight somehow, so I'm gonna have to flash away, and now I pop the ghost just to get that movement speed to reposition. A little bit awkward start of a fight, but thankfully it kind of works out for the most part in the end. Flash in from the Seraphine into a 3-man Terrify from the Vex. Here we get the Singe really low, and Seraphine's able to finish the job. The Bloodthirster shield helps us tank a lot of damage. Now here I'm just trying to lifesteal off of the enemy jungle camps. If you guys can see here, we lifesteal off the wolves as we steal it, and the next dragon is up, so we're just going to go ahead and do that dragon. This is going to be soul for my team. Poppy and Diana trying to make their way in, removing Diana's first strike with my W, and here I'm just focusing the dragon up to the point where the fight really breaks out. I'm gonna of course focus the Poppy. Now I stun the Diana with my ult crucially, and we're able to kill her, getting rid of the enemy jungler, getting rid of the Poppy as well, stealing their buff, because at this point, our mages, Seraphine and Morgana, are kind of running out of mana, so getting blue buff there is going to be very important. And once again, with Diana dead and Poppy dead, it's going to be another dragon into Baron angle, right? Because both of them are kind of up at the same time, and since we've gone crucial deaths on the enemy team, it's time to do it. However, my whole team kind of lose their mind and walk behind the pit instead of in front of the pit, so I'm now solo doing the Baron, while 3 of my teammates are standing behind the pit for no reason. Like, what are they doing? Right? Thankfully, 2 of them finally decide to join me in the pit, and now with Pantheon tanking, I can actually do damage to the Baron. Like, what was that, man? What's my team doing? Anyways, we are able to secure the Baron without any issue here at all. And I'm just going to go to the mid lane and clear the wave. I'm very close to getting Soul Transfer, which is why I want that last little bit of gold. And I'm pinging it, but Pantheon is just trying to steal the minions anyway. I'm going to head into the jungle to get this last camp, and this should give me enough to buy the Soul Transfer, which is going to be pretty huge, of a spike, putting us at 4 items and 75% crit. I mean, with Soul Transfer in combination with the Rune Hurricanes, a lot of DPS, especially to the main target, but also to the secondary targets, right? So this should help us to get rid of our Poppy problem, where she is really, really tanky, right? She has 2 health items and into the Twin Guards, so she's really, really tanky, and she's not that easy to kill. So here, once again, just pushing in the mid wave. Now, I'm kind of waiting for my team. Like, Seraphine is kind of AFK between towers. Pantheon is busy farming his jungle. And now what we should be doing in the Baron here is pushing, right? So, top lane is kind of getting pushed in. There are 3 people defending mid lane. Darius is trying to push in the bot lane, which is what I was trying to help him out with. And now I was going back to push mid lane, but he is encountering some resistance from the enemy team, to say the least. Now, Diana there trying to wait in the bush, but not quite in range to actually jump onto us. In which case we would have had stasis anyway. Now we are trying to join the fight. So we popped the ghost. Samira comes in. However, she's not able to burst anyone down. She ends up reaching her S rank, but she's taking too much damage and she ends up dying because her team is not there to kind of back her up in terms of, you know, doing damage or following up or whatnot. 2-man Poppy out onto myself and my support, but we can simply just walk back to the fight, assuming there even is a fight. Now here our main goal is just to force down this tower. Pantheon ult will ensure that the tower goes down. Now here you can see Poppy is taking a bunch of damage here. I don't really want to ult Poppy because I thought it was a waste, but then I realized that we can just get rid of the front line and they're going to be having issues for the next little bit, right? So we're finally at the point where we can kind of shred her because we have both Soul Transfer as well as having the Mole Reminder, which is going to help us to shred through her with those 2 items. Now here what ends up happening is basically we can just force the end of the game here. The Diana ult comes in. I'm going to have to pop the stasis to survive that tower shot, but the Darius does end the game before it gets too out of control and we are able to win. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.